Away from J2 Store, but has had to
I can still show you that.
That's blasphemy. I don't want to hear that ever again.
No, it's lovely how it changed so quickly. So Roland's now going to show you how you can put things into J2 Store. Roland, take it away.
Yes, thank you all for coming. First thing off is I am not alone doing this. I'm doing this together with Taruna, who is doing mostly the support and some development next to that. And she actually pointed out to me yesterday that 10 years ago today, I actually put RO CSVI in the extension directory of Joomla. Exactly 10 years ago. So time flies, I guess.
Well, that's fantastic. And it should be approved any day soon.
Oh, the extensions directory, you mean?
Yeah, no, it used to take quite a while.
Yes. Besides that, I think some other thing I want to extend on what Adam said is the guided tours. I have recently discovered them, and I think they are a super good addition to Joomla. So the plan for next year is to add a bunch of guided tours to RO CSVI as well, because as the ones who have used it and struggled know, it is it's a powerful extension, but with that comes surprise that it also has quite a steep learning curve. And I think that the guided tours can be really a good asset to get people started on things. And the final thing I want to take away from Adam's presentation is that this is the first time I see a card that actually looks like Joomla. RO CSVI started out Joomla 1.0 from the top of my head for Virtuemart, as that at the time was basically the only shopping cart we had. Well, in the meantime, a lot of have passed, and some have stayed like HikaShop, but even HikaShop's layout is nothing like the core, of course, for those who know HikaShop, even though it is also a very powerful shop. Yeah, so the news came about the J2 Store was going to did sunset their development. The first thing we basically looked at, Tarun and I, was, well, should we provide migration templates to get people, to help people move easier from J2 Store to another store, be it Virtuemart, HikaShop, or something else. And well, soon after, the news came that Adam and Olivier took over J2 Store and created J2 Commerce. So then the plan was, well, we don't really have to create the migration template specific to get people out of J2 Store, but we still plan on doing migration templates for people who want to move from, for example, Virtuemart to J2 Store. And that's the first thing I will show you, if I can share the right tab. As I was saying that,
don't touch anything.
No, don't touch anything. So what I was saying is that we were working on migration templates, and we already have a bunch of them in there. Maybe go back one step, is that CSVI comes with a whole bunch of example templates, which include migration templates. I've always said that RO CSVI is not a migration tool, but a data management tool. But I've realized that we can actually do more with RO CSVI than just uploading product listing or product stocks or product prices. And so when Joomla 4 and now Joomla 5 came around, we decided to, and the whole discussion was going on, are people migrating or not, or because it's difficult, or how do I get a Joomla 3 to a Joomla 5 site, but in a clean installation? I mean, because at least from my experience, updating sites in the past from Joomla 1 to 1.5 to 2.5, the sites start behaving a little bit different than you would expect, just because of all the history and other things that's been in there for my extensions that have been installed, uninstalled, or whatever hangs there. So when Joomla 5 came around, we decided, why don't we create some migration templates out of the box to help users export the data on one side by just clicking the export button, and on the other side, click the import button and select the file that came out of the old site. That has worked quite well, and I think a lot of users have had quite some success doing that. Not to say that this is the ultimate migration tool at all, but it does help you to get the core data out of Joomla into your new site without too much hassle. So that got us thinking, and we were already looking at creating migration templates for Virtuemart, from Virtuemart to, for example, Hikashop. Let's see which one I have in here. No, just migrate. Let's see where it is. J2 store. It's featured, yes. So we have a Virtuemart to J2 store product bridge template. We call them bridge templates because they basically they're bridging the data from, in this case, Virtuemart to J2 store. And we have the same. So let me filter on bridge because that's the actual name of migration. So we have this one to J2 store. We also have Virtuemart to Hikashop. Because people are looking at moving away from Virtuemart, even though I think it's still one of the most popular extensions. I guess one of the reasons is it just offers a ton of features for free, regardless of how it works under the hood. Like I think Brian said earlier, they have this J2 HTML stuff or so. Now, Virtuemart has exactly the same thing. They just call it VM HTML and VM text and those kind of things. But yeah, so we have the Virtuemart to J2 store product bridge template, which only does simple products, not product variants or product options or things like that, because they're quite complex. Also, we don't know what the fields are called of your variants or your options or whatever. So if you look at Virtuemart, I have Virtuemart installed here with just the sample data. So you have all the products here. And it's annoying, but Virtuemart collapses the menu automatically. So, and if you take the Virtuemart to J2 store bridge templates, you just click run. And you get a preview of how it all looks like before it goes in. That's basically with every import. And then start import. And it runs. You get a whole list of content items that have been added and updated. And then if you go to J2 store, catalog, products. Well, you have your Virtuemart logo in J2 store. Not sure if that's appropriate, but I'll leave it there for now. And so that's how you get your products in there with a click of a button, basically. And for J2 store, we have a bunch of import and export routines that are supplied out of the box. And I think that Adam and Olivier just shoved a bunch of work towards me for the coming year and supporting or better support for J2 store or /J2 commerce. Because currently we can import addresses, geozones, orders, order items, prices, products, product files, product filters, product images, and variants. Yeah, but I have to say, I don't think all of them are battle tested, simply because we don't have such a large user base yet of users using RO CSVI in J2 store. If you look at Virtuemart, it's been around since day one, which is now about 18 years that we've been doing this, RO CSVI. So it just has a lot more usage over the years than J2 store has had. And I just want to show you a simple product import that we can do. So that was a bridge template, but of course, like I said, we have other templates that are available for J2 store. where's the, not the featured one, just J2 store product. So Adam, should I already rename the templates to JCommerce, or should we leave them J2 store for now?
That's a good question. I think when we, it could be both. I mean, I think when we come out with 4.1, we're probably going to change on the front facing everything to J2 Commerce. Everything underneath the hood is still going to be the same, so it won't be anything different for you or any other developer until later on. But for branding purposes, I can let you know before we're about to release it. So if you wanted to update it at that point, it's totally up to you.
Yeah, now we're already informing our customers now that they can keep using J2 Store with or RO CSVI with J2 Commerce, because you're keeping the database schema as is.
Exactly.
Which I think saves a lot of people a lot of headaches, which I think is a very good decision. So here we have the product import template. You can see the action is an import with a component is J2 Store or any other one that you want. By default, we deliver all the Joomla core components, and we have separate extensions you can install for Virtuemart and J2 Store of errors, forms, or things like that. The operation, those are the ones I just mentioned. We have the addresses and everything else. But now we're doing a product import. You can set logging to yes if you want to see what happens, just in case of errors. The source. You see here now, this was used by the bridge template because it uses the load from database as a source from which you can use your Joomla connection or a remote connection to import from a remote database. If you use the Joomla connection, you can use any table within in your current site. Now, for now, we have the option to load from your computer, which is simply uploading a file from your own computer. You can load it from your own server. For example, if a supplier places the product files on your FTP on your server, it loads from URL, which is often used for dropshipping. You can load it from an external FTP or SFTP server. Now, from database, as we saw, you can actually load from Google Sheets too. We see a lot more users are moving towards Google Sheets, I guess, because it's more of a collaboration tool for managing products and things like that. Or you can just do a load from a text field. You have the options for CSV files. You have the auto-detect delimiters. The used file for configuration is standard set to yes, which means that it will read the column headers of your CSV file and map them to fields that RO CSVI can recognize. And so skip first line should be set to no, because if you skip the first line, you lose your column headers. The record container, record name, and extra notes is for XML files. XML files are quite complex, but it works fine. Now you have some options on how you want to match the products that you're importing. By default, is the SKU, the stock keeping unit, but you might want to do an ID if you're moving with fixed IDs. But by default, it's the SKU. You can unpublish the products for import or not. That's if you want to import a product list which does not contain any products that have been removed from the shop. What we have on the, because it unpublishes everything now. So for a moment, your shop will be completely empty. We're looking at providing an option where we can track the products that have been imported and just unpublish the ones that are not in the import list, so we can unpublish them after the import. Create a product for existing articles. You can set that to yes or no, because not articles need to be a product, of course. Generate variants and delete variants if you're using variants. Images, of course, product images can be added. Probably the most important option here is to save images on server. That's used a lot, where you can put in just full URLs, and the RO CSVI unimport will download the image to your server and resize it to the size you want and create a thumbnail. And it can actually also add watermarks to your images. So you can say, well, these are my images now. Separators is more internal, that like a category separator, because the articles are grouped in categories that we separate a parent, child like this. But you have sometimes categories where the / is part of the category name. So then you can't split it, otherwise you will break your category name. So you can configure a separate separator here, and the same goes for other values. The fields, you can see which fields are met, which will be used if you have the use file configuration set to no. We'll see that in the next demo for the product that I will import. Global rules, we'll see that also in the next demo. And limits, by default we have it set to 1000 lines per import. Sometimes it needs to go down to 50 or 100. It all depends on your hosting package that you have. And if you have usually a VPS or dedicated server and you want to change the execution time, because by default it's 30 seconds that each section runs, you can do that here, but mostly on shared hosting, you can do what you like here, but it will have no effect because it's not allowed by the hosting company for obvious reasons, because they don't want you to bring down the website of your neighbor. So, and if you then run the template, we said we want to have a text input field. Now it's here. We put in the product, you have your title of your product, your SKU, a price, the vendor that's linked to that product, and the manufacturer. Same as we saw with the bridge template, you can you'll get a preview, and then if we import, it says it's there. Now let's see if the sample product is actually there. It's here at the top. And you'll see it's this is imported as a simple product. With the SKU that was in there, the price that was in there. I think I have an older version than you, Adam. Yours is much prettier.
Yes, yeah, that's what it looks like right now for everybody.
Yeah. So the options are here as well, where you can set options. Okay, so if you go to of course, when you close when you go to a product from J2 store and you edit the product and then close the product, you'll end up at the articles again, instead of going back to the product list in J2 store. So you can also import variants, which is used a lot. I think that's what Adam already said, what he did for that web shop that he showed with the 7,000 products that he has. Let's see. RO CSVI templates, variants. Yeah, and if you edit the variants, it's basically it all looks the same, just you have a different operation. We do the variants here. The source is also from a text field. So run template. We have this. You have the parent project ID, which I just saw is ID 100. So these are things that I think we can change, where you don't have to use the ID, but where you can use like the SKU, and RO CSVI can find the IDs for you, because I'm never really a fan of managing IDs unless you know what you're doing, because the IDs are generally managed by the database itself. But sometimes it's good to have the ID, because you're sure you're updating the same one. So we have the color and the size options. with a red large, red medium, green large, green medium.
Roland, does that work with flex variants also? I know you were working on something a couple of years back with that.
I'll have to check that. I'm not exactly sure how the flex variants work in J2Store from the top of my head.
Okay.
But if not, it's we can make it work. It's one of those things that I think will be good now that since that the development has been reinvigorated for J2 Commerce, basically. That it's good that we go through the options that are available and see what can be fine-tuned or added where possible. Because we notice also with Virtuemart that people are doing a lot of variants. They got like 3 or 4 different types of variants within Virtuemart. And then a lot of them use the extension custom fields for all. So I think there's a big use case for supporting those kind of things.
Right. Well, apparently we also need to have one for bundled products too, from what I gather from this talk.
Oh, the product ID is 20, okay. Let's see. So yeah, like I said, J2Store, we have support for it. And basically, generally it works. But we just don't have a lot of customers with a lot of questions of can you support this, or can I do this, or can I do that? So now the variants are there. Oh, yeah, that's inventory.
And Roland, I'll just say there is I don't know if Mike is still in here, but he was the J2 Commerce customer I sent to you last week who got the extension. We're working on a import for his 50,000 products, and then also, since he has a scraper, to be able to have a separate file that on a cron job will be able to update the pricing and inventory when it scrapes it automatically, pulling it every night. So he's going to, the only way that would even happen is, using this. So it can be used in so many different ways in existing e-commerce that just, improves things across the board.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized preparing this presentation is like, where do I actually start? I think it's one of the main points that we also have for next year. It's been said before, but I really want to make a point of it, especially now with the guided tours, is have just better documentation, period. Because there's so many ways. I mean, Elisa full-time, she wrote a blog last month about some use cases for which is used RO CSVI. And even I'm mind boggled. I mean, the things that customers come up with in ways to use it, it's very fascinating to see. And so yeah, you have your options here that you can set. And like Adam said before too, people like using Excel sheets much easier than anything else. It's also a lot faster for changing things. So yeah, this works very well. So one thing that also comes up in managing stores is updating prices, because you don't always have to only update your products, but sometimes it's only just prices or stock. So one of the things that, let's see, where's it? Price. Where's the template?
I saw it there actually. It was.
Yeah, I'll look for it here. So one of the things you can do with prices is often you get prices from your supplier, but you want to add something on top for your own profit. So we have this price margin rule, and rules allow you to basically transform data during export or during import. And the price margin or the margin plugin is especially for that, for adding like 10% to the price that you're importing. the import rules, yeah. And so I can say a margin for 110, I wanted to multiply or just add a certain price or subtract or divide, whatever you want to do. You can also compare prices. Let's say if it's equal to a certain amount, then it will do the multiplication. So yeah, there's different use cases for everything. And if we go to the margin, this has to be I'll go here. No prices. Oh, I forgot the name of the template. So if you have your template fields, because the rules only work if you have fields assigned, so not when it is automatically defining the columns in your file, but you need to have the fields. And then you see a magic wand behind the field, so you know there's a rule applied to it. In this case, it's the price margin that I apply to the price field. So I have no column header here because the fields are already coming out of the template. And then in preview, you see the price is 215 euro, dollars, whichever currency you're using at that time. And let me cancel this and run the import again. You'll see that the price that I actually put in is 140. So you don't actually have to run the import to see the outcome of your rules. You can already see that in preview and decide whether it's fine or not. And then you can start the import. Components, J2 store, catalog, products, price. Now you can see that the price then is the 215 euro in my case, because of the price margin that I applied on the import. If we look at the users in this system, I have a couple users here, the admin and the customer store. Now, if you want to export a list of your customers, you don't want to use, you don't want to export the admin user. So we can have a rule for that too. And that's what we call the skip rule. And with skip, you can skip rows in your import file or during export, so it's not being exported. And you can match on an expression, or you can just skip empty fields. And because this is applied on a field, you can, for example, say, if I'm importing my products, but one product doesn't have a description, skip this product from the import. And then you would apply this field to the description field. Now in this case, I want to match on an expression, which can be a regular text. It can be a regular expression or even a data expression. So if you want to run an export of certain products or articles, might be the case in J2 Commerce, you can do a date comparison, whether the date is before, after, or equal to the current date or the date that you input. Now in this case, I have a regular text expression and the value needs to match is admin. And that is because I have it linked to the user field. We go to the fields of this template. So you see the magic wand at username. So if the username equals admin, it will not export that. And Here comes the challenge of sharing another screen.
We're seeing the log details and statistics one.
Sorry, what did you say?
We're seeing the log details and statistics screen.
Yes. Present something else. A window. This one. Well, instant success. So you see there's only one user here instead of the admin. So that's how you can use the skip rule as well. And let me go back to the other window again.
Roland, do you have any plans for like an order export template at any time?
Let's see. Where's this one I mean, components, RO CSVI, templates, order export. An example J2Store order export.
Oh, there you go.
So it's already there.
Perfect.
If we kind of look at fields.
Sounds like it.
Being fed. He's being fed.
So where we have a billing address, shipping address, shipping, so user email, yeah. There's one thing that we're still, let's see, because we have also what we call the advanced, is the Virtuemart advanced order export, and which basically does a XML export because of repeating. So what you get in a CSV file, if you have like one order with 5 products and you would do an order export, you get 5 times the customer name and 5 different products in that case. And with an XML, because you can have an order line which just has the product, and which is in this block called order lines, it just repeats this single block. So the question is how you want your CSV file to look like. It's I'm not sure how you usually would do an export like that, because usually CSV files are not very order friendly.
Yeah, they are flat. They are flat.
Because it's a flat file, exactly. Yeah. What we have helped customers with too is, I mean, this is just a header, an order field, an order line, and a footer. So you can turn this into a CSV export as well. Because it just works with tags, and yeah, you can just simply comma separate your things here. So you can say, double quote, customer, order ID, etc., and then fill in here with customer tag and things like that. So you can also create a CSV file. It just depends on the structure you need. And because this is originally based on XML, doesn't mean you can put it into another format, because it's simply outputting these fields in this order. The only thing is the order line is repeated in the order lines variable.
I was going to say, would mentioning the word JSON be heresy?
JSON, no, yeah, JSON is possible too. I mean, it's not, what is it? It's not fixed to XML, because the only reason it's XML because you have this header tag here. But yeah, you can remove it and put something else or nothing there. So we've always documented this as like an XML export, but it doesn't actually have to be XML. It can be any kind of format that you like. So for order export, because you also have the order item export, also for J2Store, and that's only outputting the products that have been ordered. The order item attribute name, the value, now the order item name, SKU, text type, product type. Now with the quick add, you can add more fields for whichever one you need for your order item. But yeah, I can understand sometimes you want to have both the order details with your order items. But yeah, that all depends on what's needed. And we're also looking at like adding certain fields to like an order item that you can at least have like a customer name. That might be not a problem if you get that repeated within your order item export. So yeah, we're looking at ways to improve these exports where customers have their needs for. Because yeah, and if you really want, you can build your complete own SQL export, because in the core export of RO CSVI, you can have a custom table in which you can select the table to export from, but you can also have an SQL export in which you can write your own SQL query. And you can use placeholders as well for certain values in the query that you can replace. And the sheet name is there because if, as you can see, this is a repeatable field. So if you have, for example, an Excel file with multiple pages, or multiple sheets, I should say, you can have different queries and different sheets. And that is something we're still looking at as well, if that's something useful for regular exports to have multiple exports in a single Excel file. And finally, what we have on the roadmap, cancel, yeah, this field. Or just click back. Is that what we're looking at is chained imports, so that you can have multiple import templates run in succession. One of the use cases there is that if you want to import products, for example, but you don't want to have the, what is it? So let's say you're importing a large list of products, but you're also importing images for those products. Downloading the images from an external server is very time intensive. It takes a lot of time often because you also always have to wait for the other server to deliver that image to you, and then the resizing takes time. So what you can do is that if you have a chained import, which now has to be done manually, is that you import the products first and then the images later, and at least your site will already have the products. We now tell customers that they can actually do this using the cron import. Because with cron imports, you can of course just schedule or write a bash script to run multiple cron commands in succession, which is basically the same, only you don't have to click anywhere. But we also noticed that for a lot of people, doing things on the command line is still a challenge. Let's see, I see some questions come by. Oh, Gary is mind-boggled by how much real estate we give to the yes/no info. There's something, I think it's called bleeding. I reported that issue before, that if you have, where is it? And I think he's talking about this yes/no. Yeah, design is also not my strongest point, as you know, but yeah, it just goes with the rest of the form. Give products list a title and then change product ID to ID and save a ton of space. Give products list a title and then change product ID to ID. Gary, can you explain what you mean by saying that? J to store lists. You mean here? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is something that we're streamlined.
Yeah. Adam asked for the order export template. I've shown that, and Cheryl is saying multiple sheets was helpful in exporting easy block to Joomla articles using the SQL query. And Oh, that's also a nice use case. Another thing I never think about, it's also because I don't know all the extensions, but giving people the option to write their own SQL queries, if you're a bit know your way around, you can do a lot of stuff with SQL queries, of course. Looks like an option to select CSV, JSON, XML output on the templates. That's correct. I'll show you. We need an export template. So the export type is CSV, XML, HTML, XLSX, or JSON. JSON is still basic JSON, not nested or anything. And the HTML is often used for front end. The website is RO CSVI because let me show, it comes from XML. So if you're doing XML, where is it? You can export for Beslist, which is a Dutch product comparison website. You can have your custom XML output. You can have for Google Shopping, Oodle Shopping, and Yandex, the Russian product comparison site. And so the same is for HTML. Our CSVI comes with a very basic HTML output template for the front end, but you can also write your own HTML formats. Does that alter the output template? The output inside the template is always the same. It's just the way the data is presented. Let's see which. I can actually show that, I guess, with the user export that we have. So to be able to export a template on the front end of the website, you have to set this to yes or use it as a cron, just to make sure that people can't just use it by accessing a URL with the ID. So we'll give it a secret key, jiggle, destinations. This is, download is fine. Export type is HTML or CSVI, and that should be it from the top of my head. Save and close, and we go to menus, main menu, new, or CSVI, export front end, and the user export. So it's screen, so it shows it on the screen, or you can download. So it's an automatic download, and I guess that's the one that Adam used before, the one that he mentioned with the link on the front end. Yeah, or you can use the template setting. The template setting could also be, of course, that you're uploading it to an external site, but also download it at the same time. No, you need to put in the secret key, user export, or users, customers. Give it a name. It's published. Save and close. Go to the front end. Users. And you get a very simple table with the data that's there. And of course, yeah, if you're a much better front-end designer than I am, you can probably make it look very pretty. So there's that. Any more questions? Or otherwise, it's a nice time, I guess, for us here at 10:30 at night.
I was going to say, I think that's about it. I mean, in the old days, we'd have been locked into the university by now. So luckily we are virtual. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.